Hello traders, Cousin Benny coming to you from theclosingprint.com on April the 12th, 2015. In this video, we'll cover the indices nearing all-time highs again. Tick and Tick Q both look somewhat bullish, NASDAQ more so. Trend and VIX both were at lows last week. Trend at lows was bullish, with buying volume swamping selling volume, and VIX was at extreme lows we haven't seen. Breadth, no MAD or MDDs accumulation or distribution days, but up volume trumped down volume for the week. Currencies, US dollar is moving back towards 100 and the euro is nearing parity, which will affect the FTSE and euro stocks, similar to what we saw in 2009 when QE began for the United States. Bonds are moving lower. We got out of our position on April the 1st and continue to wait for a sign that we can get back in. Setups, we'll talk about the high type flags perhaps if we have time, and the IBD50 with 10E Stow MACD setups. This is a chart of the spiders SPY, and what I want to focus on is the move that we've seen over the past week. Looking at the Monday candle right here, since that low at 205 and change, we've run up 50 handles on the ES futures. You have to ask yourself, would you be a buyer here or a seller? If we run a trend line across these highs, we see that we're very close to that. And if we look at our other indicators, it gives us pause at the current. Considering slow stow is overbought, we could see a move to the downside. Volume is lower on average. So we're going to keep an eye on the spiders and the week ahead. If we look at the 60-minute chart, we overlaid Fibonacci levels from the Monday low, and we saw an extension of 1618 right here at 211 on spiders, which was the previous high that we saw back on the 20th of March. So those are our targets. We'll keep an eye on price action. The fact that we're flagging out here could be beneficial to the bulls. It's definitely not bearish currently. There was a Kirby pocket here at one point, but that's since cleared up. Note that MACD is above its signal line, and slow stow is in the caution zone. So we could turn down very quickly. Just keep that in mind. If we shift gears and look at the SPY 30-minute chart, we can see this more clearly. We have a nice flag. We have the 10-period EMA coming right up against price. And there's really nothing here that's saying that we should sell just yet. SPY stow could stay embedded like we've seen in the past. In the month of February, if you check those charts, we were embedded for almost the entire month. So keep that in mind going into this trade. We could see algos keep us embedded here for many days and continue to grind higher and frustrate the bears over the next couple of weeks. Let's take a look at the comp, which is doing quite well. We mentioned on Thursday or Friday, I forget which, we had this horizontal range. We broke above, and now we're building another horizontal range. We have a level up here around 5,010 where we could conceivably start to see resistance, which coincides with this volume by price bar. But for the most part, the NASDAQ is looking very bullish. We have a MACD cross, and slow stow continues to move higher. Note that the number of stocks trading above their 50-period moving average is 67%. This could also continue to move higher. So don't count the NASDAQ out just yet. This is looking very bullish going into the week ahead. We have to consider also that the leaders in the group, the top 10 to 20 names that are both in the SPY as well as the NASDAQ with the highest weighting, that these stocks are the leaders. So note that Apple is holding the 50-period moving average here, looking very good, and the oscillator is above the zero line. Although it's moving sideways, this could turn back up on Monday, Tuesday. Amazon, we see the same thing. Note the oscillator. Note price action. We saw a spinning top on Friday. Bank of America, this reports earnings this week. Berkshire Hathaway, moving sideways. Note the oscillator is moving higher. Comcast, oscillator has started to peak and turning. CVX, Chevron, starting to flatten out, but we're above the 50-period moving average, the blue line. These are the leaders in the SPY and the NASDAQ for what it's worth. Disney, confirming, moving through the zero line and moving higher. We should see higher prices in the week ahead. Facebook, note that we turned here. We should turn back up. Prices should meander higher as well. Keep an eye on this one. GE, we all know that how well this did last week. Gilead moved through the zero line on the oscillator. Should continue to move higher. Note the triangle pattern. Things looking pretty bullish here on Gilead. Google, note the oscillator turn and moving higher. These are all the leaders and showing signs of pushing the indices higher. Johnson & Johnson, moving through the zero line. We only have the 200-period moving average to deal with now to the upside. JP Morgan, moving through the zero line last week, continues to look bullish. We have earnings, I believe, on the 14th or the 15th of this week. Microsoft, looking pretty good. Oscillator moving through zero, so that's a confirmation signal. Note the spinning top on Friday. The 50-period moving average is flattening. Prices could conceivably push through to the upside this week. Make sure you check earnings on all these names. Merck, moving higher. PFE, bouncing off the zero line, turning up higher, about to break out. Keep an eye on the drug stocks this week. PG, moving through the zero line, a defensive name in the staples sector, moving higher. PCLN, this oscillator has done quite well. We see moves from 1150 up to 1200, 50 points, and when we peaked here back in late February, this was a good sign that we could see further downside at that point, and we saw these PCLN drop from 1260 down to 1150 before the oscillator turned back up. So keep an eye on this oscillator. It's a product of rate of change and something that you should keep an eye on as a trader. Qualcomm turning back up, looking pretty bullish here, and Wells Fargo about to move higher as well. Let's look at the Russell. Breaking out of this trend line, moving higher, risk is on. Note that slow stow is in the caution zone, MACD is above its signal line. Price is above the 10-period EMA, so the Russell continues to push higher. There's no reason to get panicky, bearish, yet we need to keep an eye on the indices and all of our indicators going into the week ahead. In addition to the small caps, we have to be mindful of the S&P 400 mid-cap index. Note that the 10-period EMA, the blue line, continues to move higher. Prices are above same. Slow stow continues to move higher, although we are at the caution zone and we need to keep an eye on this. MACD is above its signal line. The Dow Industrials also look good. It's only 30 stocks, but if you connect these highs here, we're breaking above same. The Bollinger Bands are turning up, both top and bottom. That's indicating that prices could get moving very quickly on these 30 stocks. Note the volume on Friday. MACD cross, and slow still has a lot of room to move to the upside. The oscillator has moved higher as well. So the industrials look pretty good. Make your own decision in the week ahead. These are the 30 components. Note where prices are, note where slow is on each. Look at Caterpillar moving above its 50 period moving average. The blue line is the 20 period. Slow is moving higher. This could continue to move higher going into the week. Cisco about to press above its 50 period moving average. CVX looking good. DuPont, nice basing pattern here. Disney above its 20 period. Goldman Sachs reports this week. Home Depot closing above its 20. IBM, we talked about that as a trade last week. Intel above its 20. 50 period moving average overhead. Johnson & Johnson moving higher. JP Morgan testing recent highs. Again, it reports this week. Coca-Cola, McDonald's trying to change its menu and its customer base. 3M looking pretty good. A nice trade by Sunrise last week. Merck looking alright. Microsoft looking okay. Nike coming back down to the 20 period. We'll watch for a trade there. PFE, as we talked about, trying to break out. Procter & Gamble, we talked about that as well as AT&T. Travels Insurance, and the rest of the group industrials. Looking okay. So there are some caveats going into the week ahead, but for the most part we have a sense of which direction we will trade in the week ahead. Commodities are a little disconcerting. We expected copper to perform better than it did on this previous pullback to breakout. We thought that we would stop here. We have at the 20 period moving average for the time being, so we're looking for a move higher in the week ahead. Let's take a look at gold. We noted that gold hit this volume by price level. However, it did close above the 10 period moving average and the 10 EMA. Slow is starting to move towards the oversold zone, and MACD is above its signal line. So we could see higher prices on the precious metals. If we continue to move higher, note that the volume by price bars here taper off, and we have this curvy pocket up to around 1292. So keep that in mind if you're trading the precious metals. Let's take a look at silver. Silver is not faring as well, but it is holding the 50 period moving average just below the 10 EMA. And we have this volume by price resistance and congestion zone that we talked about previously. Note slow is oversold. MACD is just below its signal line, so if price can get back above the 10 EMA, silver could look good as well. Looking at crude for a moment, we are continuing in this sideways range. Prices held the 10 EMA, and we see STO is starting to move lower, and MACD is managing to stay above its signal line. So the fact that we have not come back down to the lower trend line and are holding near the 10 EMA leads us to believe that we will break out soon, and our positions in the velocity shares 3 times long. We can see that the 50 period moving average is flattening and about to turn. We're holding the 10 period EMA. Slow stochastic is getting oversold very quickly, and we of course can see MACD is above its signal line. So this one is looking pretty good. Let's look at the hourly chart, and we can see a very nice bullish action. We have this volume by price congestion to deal with, but once prices get above that and we see crude WTIC moving higher, things should continue to move in the bullish direction over the weeks ahead. In the weekend blog post, we talked about bonds. We have been out for over a week. We noted that we saw a potential trendline resistance. A week ago Thursday, we swept most of our bond fund exposure into cash. If we look at AGG, the Barclays Aggregate Bond Fund, we can see the same thing. We had a peak 2 weeks ago, and now we're seeing a MACD cross, and slow still continues to move south. So we are out of our bond position, waiting for a sign that we could re-enter in the near future. Let's take a look at our fear indicators. We can see that SPX to VIX is outperforming VIX to VXV. We noted this on Friday's close that we were getting very close to areas that we saw inflection points previously. Most recently, we saw this in the last week of December, where we hit a point of inflection and the indicator turned north, in which case it foretold a move south in the indicators. We are not saying that that's what's going to happen. We're just observing price action, and VIX to VXV indicator is telling us to be more cautious. Note that we're approaching this descending trend line. VIX is also telling us to be cautious. Note previous areas of inflection down here at 1250 to 12, this red zone here, and also in the first week of December, where we moved down below 12 into the 11 zone, again in August, where we moved down to 11. So we're definitely in an area where we can see inflection and a move lower or a move sideways. So those are the two scenarios we're thinking of currently. AmerisourceBergen is attempting a breakout here. Note the narrow Bollinger Bands, volume by price level, volume, as well as STO and MACD is back above its signal line. This one's looking pretty good going into the week. ACT looks like it's going to move back above the volume by price level after testing the 50 period on Thursday and Friday. Slow STO oversold, MACD turning. This one could be a good winner this week. AFSI tried to break out last week, failed. Slow STO is overbought. AKRX, a nice breakout on Wednesday above its 10 period EMA. Note there's no volume by price resistance or overhead supply. Slow STO continues to move higher. Note that we are in the caution zone and MACD is above its signal line on all of these stocks. AOS holding the T20 period back above the 10 EMA. Slow STO oversold. MACD needs to do some work. ATHM, we were stopped on Thursday when we made this low here, so we're completely out of ATHM. If we break back above this high at 51.76, we could enter the Kirby. We may consider re-entering. I don't think the move on this stock is over just yet. Slow STO is overbought, however. AVGO sideways. CBM continues to move higher. Note where prices are relative to the 10 EMA. They're getting a little extended. Slow STO is overbought. Cerner continues to move higher, breaking out here. Let's see if it has some follow through with slow STO overbought. MACD above its signal line. CGNX looking pretty good. DLTR rejected at highs, but holding the 10 period EMA. Note where slow STO is and MACD above its signal line. EPAM continues to move higher. This is a winner. This is in our kids' Cloverdale College account. Looks like it's going to move higher. There are a number of these IBD stocks that have hit highs and started moving sideways. Watch all of them for this similar type action. Slow STO is in a caution zone. MACD is above its signal line. FLTX is building a sideways range here, holding above the volume by price level, significant price level here. We should see higher prices with these narrow Bollinger Bands and 50-period moving average moving up and under prices. We closed above the 10 EMA, looking pretty good. Slow still continues to move higher. This is probably a good candidate for the week ahead if the S&P 500 continues to move higher. Harman International continues to move higher, a little spinning top on Friday above volume by price levels and lack of sellers up here. Slow still is in the caution zone. MACD is above its signal line, and we have a cross on the 12.26.9 duration on Friday. IPGP, we mentioned this one last week on Thursday when it made this low, and then again on Monday we saw this as a potential move higher. Continues to move higher from the 92.50 level, a nice $4 to $5 depending on where you entered. This looks like it's going to test the previous highs. Slow still is in the caution zone, MACD above its signal line. Jazz continues to move higher. Lannett Pharmaceuticals, LCI, continues to move higher, breaking out here above recent highs. Slow still is in the caution zone and MACD is above its signal line. We have a cross on the 12.26. LinkedIn, we talked about this on Friday. Breakout of this channel took forever. If we get above this volume by price bar, this one could really get moving. Monster continues to move sideways. Narrow Bollinger Bands, volume by price level. This is a buyout, I believe, from Coca-Cola. Slow still continues to meander higher, and MACD is above its signal line on the 514. MTSI looking pretty good. A bounce off the 50-period moving average above the 10-period EMA, 20-period just overhead. Note the volume by price bars here. Slow still, probably the best setup of all of the IBD50 so far. MACD is about to cross. This one could probably see 37.43 taken out in the very near future and then up to 39. So we probably have about a $3 range on this stock in the very near future if it gets above and stays above this volume by price bar. Keep an eye on this one in the week ahead. Mylanta, push higher, move sideways. A flag here would be the best scenario. Let slow still get back to oversold and turn. MACD is above its signal line. NOAA, we're still in this one. We have a spinning top, long-legged doji on Friday. We took some off a trailer. We took this early in the week on Monday at the 24.50 level. Continues to move higher. Very nice trade going into the week. Slow still is overbought. Note the volume though. So there's something going on with the stock. We just don't know what it is. We need to do our homework. Orly looks like it's going to break out this week above the 10-period EMA. No sellers, no overhead supply. This one looks like it's going to take off. Slow still continues to move higher. MACD above its signal line. Ross Stores, I have a feeling this thing's going to test the 50-period moving average and then push higher. Just check earnings. Slow still did turn. MACD is above its signal line. SCI looks good off the 20-period. Closed above the 10-period EMA. Bollinger Bands are narrowing as we mentioned last Sunday. SWI, software, SolarWinds, triple top here. Do we break out? We're above the volume by price level. Slow still looks like it could move lower. Keep an eye on divergence and a hold above the 10-period EMA if you're already in this stock. Skyworks looking good. Broke out last week on Thursday. Flagging out would be the best scenario. In the caution zone and MACD above its signal line. Tesoro's new on the list. Tractor Supply dropped off. Not sure why. It's holding this low here. Look forward to get back above the 50-period. 10-period is moving lower. We have resistance here at the volume by price level. Slow still is oversold though. Could turn and MACD's turning as well. So perhaps this is going to be a move like we saw on IPGP. Under Armour broke out last week on Wednesday, continues to move higher. Inside day, looking for a flag here. Could do quite well in the week ahead. Just check earnings. I don't know. I haven't checked these. UIHC will probably drop off the list this week. Note the reverse Kirby. This one could move lower before it sees support down here around the 1950 to 1750 level. Slow Stow is in the oversold territory. MACD looks pretty bad. Ulta, nice Bollinger Band squeeze. Note the volume by price level. We're going to see Stow turn and MACD get back above its signal line and prices stay above the 10-period EMA. BRX, very nice looking pattern here. Trying to break out. Keep an eye on this one this week. We have no supply above this level. 52-week highs. 50-period moving average is moving high aggressively. Slow Stow in the caution zone. MACD above its signal line. W-Wave in the food products category continues to grind higher. 10-period EMA continues to push. If you got in the stock when we saw this Bollinger Band squeeze and it showed up on the IBD50, congratulations. You've got about $4 and change. $4 and change on this stock. Okay, so this is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. For you new traders, be sure to check out these top 5 or 6 videos, which will give you a better edge on understanding the markets, taking setups, and where to position yourself for the highest risk reward on your trade. In addition, if you don't subscribe to the blog, this is a spam-free site. Enter your email address in here and you can get these delivered to your email every day. You'll note my tweets are here, the watch list for the week or the day. You can just scroll down through these, keeping track of the trades that we're looking at, whether they're high-type flags or Bollinger Band setups. It's also a place for me to document the trades and thoughts going into the weeks. So I hope this helps. Take care. We'll talk to you on the stream on Monday.